Welcome to REIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josey. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josey. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josey, creator of REIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment, my little badass gift to you. Today's topic is the importance of using lien waivers. When working with contractors on your investment properties, it's crucial to protect your project and your finances. Lien waivers ensure that everyone gets paid fairly and prevents legal headaches down the road. Here are 4 reasons why they are essential to your business. Number 1, prevent double payments. Lien waivers are your proof that contractors and subcontractors have been paid in full. Without one, a subcontractor or supplier could file a lien against your property, even if you already paid the contractor. Number 2, secure clear title. If a lien is filed, it clouds your property title, making it harder to sell, refinance, or secure additional loans. Using lien waivers ensures a clean title and smooth transactions. Number 3, avoid legal battles. Lien disputes can lead to costly and time-consuming legal issues. A signed lien waiver minimizes the risk of misunderstandings and protects you from unnecessary lawsuits. Number 4, build trust and professionalism. Requiring lien waivers shows you're serious about doing things the right way. It encourages transparency and sets a professional tone with your contractors. So, lien waivers aren't just paperwork. They're your shield against financial and legal risks. Always require them before making the final payment to any contractor. It's a small step that ensures big peace of mind. Now, on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. We have with us my friend, Erik Timmermans. Erik is a real estate investor with an inspiring journey that began in 2016, proving that humble beginnings don't define your future. Starting out while on food stamps, Erik grew his business in 5 short years and now owns an impressive portfolio of 172 rental properties. He completes around 30 flips annually and has recently ventured into building million-dollar homes in my hometown of downtown Raleigh. Erik's success story is fueled by his expertise in leveraging other people's money to scale his business. His passion for real estate goes beyond personal success. He's dedicated to giving back by sharing his knowledge and network to help others achieve financial freedom through real estate investing. It's my pleasure to have him on the show, so welcome, Erik Timmermans.
Hey. Thank you for having me, Jen. I appreciate you.
I mean, we have cross paths so many times. We're locally, but I feel like I spend more time with you at events. You know, were you in You were in Puerto Rico with me?
Not Puerto Rico, but I think were you in Jamaica?
We did Jamaica together. That's what it was. Yes.
That was it. Yeah. We spend more time outside Raleigh than we do in Raleigh. Yeah.
Exactly. So we have to change that. We are going to have to start hanging out more.
Absolutely.
But and I'm super excited you're doing million-dollar homes in downtown Raleigh. We have one going on right now, so I may have to pick your brain about that later. But let's get started. This is all about you. I want to hear this story, this journey that you had going from food stamps to having all these rental properties. So tell us how you got started in real estate.
Yeah, thanks, Jen. And first and foremost, thank you for that advice about the lien waiver. I'm actually made a note for myself. So that is key. That is fantastic.
I'm going to take a quick second here because the only time I have ever been served papers was over a lien waiver, and I panicked. And thank goodness I had a great coach who taught me to always use lien waivers. And anyway, I was served papers from the supply company, exactly what ChatGPT pulled here, and said, we were never paid for the windows for this project. And I said, well, I have this lien waiver. Does this help? And they're like, oh, that's all we need. Thank you. I was like, oh, thank goodness. Because I've never been sued by a company before. So and I wasn't sued. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, no, I did. But it's super, super important. And I'm trying to teach people how to protect themselves. And I had to make a note because I'm like, oh my gosh, she is just, that was a golden nugget. So I hope people listen to that, and it's super, super important. So yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Enough about me. This is all about you, Erik Timmermans, Erik with a K. So tell us how you got started in real estate.
Yeah, and thanks again for having me. So it was 2016. My wife and I had a daughter, and then in 2015 we had twins that were born. And we did in that time, we decided that we didn't want people at daycare raising our kids. We really wanted to be home and be with our kids. So my wife and I both worked a W-2. We were earning a little over 6 figures combined together. And her salary went away. And then my W-2 changed my bonus structure and the payout. So we ended up in 2016 on food stamps. And a good friend of mine, and at that time, a colleague said, you should go into real estate. Well, as you can imagine, with $50 in your bank account, 2016, of course, was still cheaper than 2024. But you don't buy properties, definitely not in Durham for $50. Right. So I started listening to every single podcast that Bigger Pockets had. I, of course, picked up the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And one sentence or one chapter in Rich Dad Poor Dad really opened my eyes, and that was saying how people in a W-2 are poor, then they look for another job, make more money, and 2 years later they're poor again because they increase their expenses, and then so and the circle just had a rat race continues. So I decided that I didn't want to do that, but I was going to be in real estate. So in 2016, I made an offer on a property in Durham. It was $50,000. So I was $49,950 short. But yeah, so I went with a contract. I went to a local meetup here in Raleigh called TRIA, held up my contract and said, hey, I need money. And the rest is history. 170 rentals now, and multiple flips a year, and following you in your big footsteps and starting to build in downtown Raleigh next year. Yeah.
Well, there is some building to do, because I've had to really change my mindset going to these higher level homes. So we're just going to need to go have coffee or a beverage and discuss, because I'm getting close to the picking of finishes right now, and it's freaking me out because things change and you have to be super, super specific. But I want to get into, you have some great posts. So listeners, find Erik Timmermans on, I follow you on Facebook, but it's Erik with a K, Timmermans. And he has these great posts that are not political, which is huge. They're just extremely factual about projections in the real estate market in 2025. And I really found them interesting. I got really emotional with the election. And so it was comforting to just read what you were putting out there. It was very factual. But before we get into 2025, I want to hear about a recap of 2024. And one of the posts you had was why it was so hard to sell houses in 2024. And I am one of those right now. I have one that's been staying on the market for over a year. So I am super struggling, and with that one property, it's in great condition. Anyway, it's rough. So what is your recap on where the market was in 2024?
Yeah, thank you, Jen. And thanks for keeping it real as well, because a lot of people in real estate always, make it seem like it is always so fantastic to be in real estate. And I appreciate it. Hey, you on through this platform and your platforms, let people know that, hey, there are ups and downs, right? So let's take a step back since 2016 when I got started. If you started in real estate 8 years ago, or even, since 2013, you have only experienced a market that went up. Of course, there was a dip here and there, but the market has gone up and up and up and up. Then we had COVID, and anything you did in COVID made you money. It definitely in the real estate, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So 2024, so in 23 we saw that interest rates were getting higher. So we had like September of 23, and rates start creeping up 4%, 5%, and then we had the biggest dip in real estate activity in February of 24. That was really a big dip. Then it slowly increased. The volume of pending home sale numbers slowly increased, and then after August, we basically saw a drop. So basically, during the normal season in real estate, as you know, as most of your listeners will know, is of course from about March to August is when the highest volume, generally the highest volume, is in real estate. So right now, before October, and I have to say before October, because in October nationwide we saw an uptick in pending home sale numbers of 2.9%. So we saw an aftermath and after effect after the elections, and people start buying again. But before October, we were trending towards the worst pending home sales in real estate since 1995. That means we were just over 4 million properties sold in the year. And in 2008, that number was closer to 4.1 million homes sold. So that's why I said, hey, guys, if you're an investor out there, Jen, like you and me, and I have properties as well that I thought I would sell and are still sitting there. And one of the tricks that I'm doing is I'm giving my listings, my properties on the market, I'm giving 2 more weeks. This is end of December, I'm taking them off the market, let them reset. And then in January, we go back with a fresh listing. In the meantime, I'll look at the yard. I'll take a deep dive in what I can do different. But 24 was just hard because nobody was buying. And when I pulled some data, you see that the average increase after an election year is 4.8%. Wow. So I'm expecting, and we'll go into that later, but I'm expecting some difference in 2025. And you normally see that in an election year is that people are kind of waiting what is happening. North Carolina in particular was impacted the hardest, or one of the hardest. I should say the swing states, and that's why I said North Carolina, the swing states were impacted the hardest because swing states like North Carolina, I think it was Arizona, people in those states were really waiting for what is going to happen. Are we going to have a blue or a red state? And therefore, we saw this, even in North Carolina, home sales really, really pending. I think why it is also harder to buy and find deals is that in 2021, we saw that 8% of the single-family houses were purchased by investors. In 2024, that number is pending to be 30%. So 30% of the single family homes are going to be purchased by investors. So we see a big uptick that makes it harder for newbies, for you and me, Jen, to find really good deals because there's more competition out there. And it's just harder to sell the inventory that we have. So we're struggling with this cash flow, right? Like there's no money coming in, so we can't put any money down for DD. So it's hard to purchase. So we have to be more conservative, and all of that data combined together just made 2024 a challenging year.
So I don't know if you know these numbers, but did the lower price point houses or the higher price point houses, which one did better? Do you know that number?
No, I did not. But what I did look at is so from I wanted to say that the higher point areas are struggling more, and here's why I'm saying that. So I looked at the data from Rocky Mount all the way over to the Triad area, Winston-Salem, and I looked at each county, and I looked at what is the pending home sale numbers doing in October. Nash County, Johnson County, Forsyth County, Graham County are all showing an incredible uptick in pending home sale numbers in October. Orange County and Durham County, the most or more of the expensive counties, are seeing a decline in pending home sale numbers in October of 2024, and Wake County sees a little bit of an uptick in 2024. So based on that data point, I'm saying the cheaper counties, the average home price in Nash County is $250,000. In Wake County, it's $400,000. In Orange County, the average price, according to the data that I saw, was $1.2 million. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. So depending on that data, I'm saying more expensive houses or areas are not seeing such a big uptick. We see it more on the cheaper side.
Got it. Thank you for answering that. So with all of this, and this, we don't mean to be doom and gloom here, but there is an upside to this. So what positive is coming out of these houses sitting longer on the market?
So, of course, the positive, the first thing is that we have a bigger inventory, right? And I saw an article about inventory recently, and we're still far, and I forgot the numbers, so I won't make a suggestion there, but we're still far below inventory levels pre-COVID. So please don't freak out when you see that inventory is rising. I think it's a good thing. It brings more competition, right?
Yes.
So if you're a buyer out there, we see that there is more competition. We also see that because of that there's an increase in buyers, that we see that there's more sellers putting their property on the market again. That can be a good positive thing for you and me, or for the investors that are listening to that, because if there's more inventory coming, if people are more inclined to sell their property, there's also more properties that need some work, or we can flip up, or we can tear down and build a new property.
And as investors, I always think that this is a great time to buy, because if you're buying something that needs work, that's going to be a 4 to 5 month project, this is a great time to buy because it'll be ready to go at the peak of the market. You said the peak is from, what'd you say? March to August, correct? Yeah. So that's right in that nice little timeline right there. So listeners, go out, start shopping, and work the MLS, work the off-market deals. It is a good time to buy right now.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, good. All right. So we had an election, and so not getting political, but we are going to have a change, quite a bit of change. Everything's promises right now, so nothing is in stone yet, but we have this big scary word. Well, it's not scary, but tariffs. It's already been announced that day one, he's going to, what's the term that you use? Not incorporate, but enforce. Enforce tariffs to 2 of our neighboring countries. And what is that going to do to the real estate market? Take it away, Erik.
Take it away. Well, so let's take it back, right? So why do we see an uptick in October? And why do I completely agree with what you just said? This is the best time to buy, right? Like I did in the last 10 days, I spoke at 4 different events for investors, and my main thing that I've been saying since August is buy. And the reason you should buy is your average buyer or your end buyer is sleeping right now. Sleeping meaning they're not looking to buy. So there's still people like Jen and myself that sometimes are desperate to sell, right? Like we need to sell our inventory. So you can still make great offers now and snatch up properties for a discounted price. So elections came along, including myself. At that point, I was anticipating that rates would continue to trend down. During the election time, we were at the low 6 rates nationwide on average on a 30-year mortgage. We were sitting around 6%. And then the Trump effect, or the after effect of the elections, happened, which again, because of the swing state here in North Carolina, was really great. Other swing states, we saw a bigger uptick as well. And then that Friday after the elections, we had a super good job report. Now, all of that is fantastic information, not if you're an investor or not if you want to buy houses. Why? The mortgage rates are not following the Fed rates, right? The mortgage rates are tied to the 10-year and the 5-year Treasury bond. If there is a good job report, more people are then not putting their money with the government and invest in bonds with the government, but they're putting their money with companies in like Nike or Amazon, Nvidia or whatever. They're putting it in the stock market. So what does the government then have to do? They have to raise the interest rates on the bonds to attract more investors to buy in bonds, and therefore we saw interest rates jumping from 6.2%, I believe it was, or in that ballpark, over 7% in a matter of like less than 3 days. And that's when I put out the post, Trump and the Fed are killing the real estate market, right? Like I was just frustrated with like interest rates going up again, because I need the interest rates to go down to sell the pending inventory that I'm sitting on, because I'm sitting on a larger inventory. So the Trump effect and the job market were impacting that. In 25. Because of the tariffs that he's putting in place, right? And I believe it was in early December that the president-elect, I have to say, that the president-elect met with the president or the governor from Canada. So there is already stuff going on. The negotiations are already happening, because on day one, like you said, Jen, on day one, he's going to implement the 25% increase in prices, which you and I are builders, and that means for us that our lumber prices are going to go up by 25%. So
because a lot of our lumber comes from Canada.
I think the total thing that we import from Canada is 1 trillion. So we do a lot from Canada. So
okay, before we go a little bit further and more knee deep into tariffs, and the reasoning behind them is to keep it in our country and to really have companies in America keep employees here and buy goods in America. That's the purpose of a tariff, just to break it down. But that's not reality, because we get a lot of our materials from other countries, and goodness, I mean, just lumber alone. Tell me what you just spent on lumber. You said before we hit record.
So on one project where I'm building these, so I have one lot in the north of Glenwood in the biggest street area in North Raleigh. I'm building $3 million homes there. 3 houses that are 2,600 square feet. My lumber price there is $153,000 some dollars. So an increase in 25 or 20% is increasing my budget to over 20,000 just in lumber. Yeah. And the reason I'm looking at that is because, as you know, Jen, what the projected value is today, right? After it, if I was to finish these houses today, and I would put them on the market, that is 1.3, 1.5 million. I am not expecting, because my lumber prices go up by 20%, that in July or June, when they're really done, that I can say, oh, you know what, that is 20% higher because my cost was 20% higher. Yes, I do. I do predict that, because of what the tariffs are going to do, right? Is they're going to increase inflation.
Right.
What is the best vehicle against deflation and inflation? Is real estate. So therefore, to come back to what you said earlier, this is the best time to buy. This is the best time to buy because we're going to have inflation. There's no doubt. I've done over 5 hours of research on the impact of the outcome of the election on real estate, and every single person that has a financial degree says we're going to have inflation. And here's why. To your point, Jen. Tariffs are in place to increase the work and labor in America. But since Trump first came in office and during Biden, we have decreased our manufacturing facilities. Mm-hmm. all of these tariffs that are put in place are on a lot on manufacturing jobs. So what does that mean? It is a grade or however you agree with it to tariffs. It's an implementation to bring jobs here into America, which you can agree or disagree on, but the systems are not put in place yet. The manufacturings are not there. So we're going to have inflations because of that. And that's why I'm looking at tariffs like, what should I do now? I definitely buying a lot of buying right now because of the inflation, but what should I do with my supply? Should I buy now? Should I wait? And trying to anticipate that.
I mean, I can remember during COVID, we were building the house that I'm in right now, and we ordered windows and they got stuck on a barge. So it took 5 months and it held up because we couldn't get our framing inspection completed because we didn't have our windows in. So our project sat for 5 months, and that's interest building, etc. But the prices in COVID, you could do anything and make tons of money. So that helped. But I fear something like that is going to happen, that it's going to slow things down coming here. It's going to increase price. I mean, the stuff we get from China as well, the stuff we get from Mexico. Some of our best employees are Mexican and part of our family now. They're great tradesmen. There's just a lot of way it's going to trickle through for real estate. And I appreciate you being so politically neutral, because it is kind of hard to have this conversation and be neutral. So my next question is how do we prepare for this as investors who are building houses? And I feel good because we were also talking before I hit record about our partners, and mine is my husband, who I'm the mouth and the looks of our partnership here, but he's the brains behind things. So wrapping my brain around numbers and preparing is really tough to do. So I'm going to lean on you for that. But how do we prepare for the increase of inflation and everything that could possibly happen in 2025?
Yeah, I really think that you're going to see a tremendous inflation in 2025, right? And I also think that we're going to see an increase in, or we already are seeing, so that's an easy prediction, but I do predict a significant increase in home buying numbers. There was a prediction from either Freddie Mac or one of those government institutions. They lowered their home sale prediction or pending home sales from 11%, or the increase in home, I should say, the increase in pending home sales from 11% to 4%. So they decreased their expectations, and that has to do with, because when you have inflation, you're most likely are not going to see low interest rates, right? Like higher inflation means higher interest rates. So therefore, they put their predictions for 25 down from we're going to see a growth in the real estate market from 11% to 4%, right? But 4% is still a good number. So I do. My prediction for 25 is inflation. How do you prepare for that? That is buying now, because now you buy cheap. Had that dollar that you have now is going to be worth less. So that means house prices are going to be more. Interest rates are here to stay around between 6 and 7%. I don't think they're going to drop below 6. If they do, then house prices are going to only be higher because demand is going to be higher. And then you and I are sitting on a really good project with new build. So I do think there's going to be an super high increase in activity, and it's going to be like a wave. So I do think it's a wave that is going to cool down by the end of next year. So I do think like September, October, we're going to see a slowdown in it, but I'm riding the wave. So I think there's a wave. Therefore, what I said earlier, I am taking all my inventory off the market in December, work on it, reset it, have a new listing. Come January, February, I'm back on the market. And that's when you see that wave going up.
Excellent.
And higher prices.
I think that's excellent advice. Where do you see rentals going in 2025?
Yeah, I'm laughing. So I'm a rental guy, right? Like I was a passive income guy. I just did flips to support the family, and hence the fact that I have 172 rental units. data shows, and the presentation why I said earlier that I dove in all the counties surrounding Raleigh and the uptick in house prices. The reason I did that is I have noticed for myself that owning a rental property became a very expensive hobby. And the reason I know also the data that we had 8% of single family homes being purchased by investors in 21 and now 30% in 24 is also because I wanted to know, is like, it cannot only be the increase in taxes. It cannot only be the increase in utilities or overhead. There's more than just taxes and stuff like that. Why prices are higher? So, we're seeing that affordable housing, if you want to do the 1% rule in rentals, you have to go to the cheaper areas. So you're having to go to the Nash counties. You're having to go to the Burlington area.
Tertiary markets, yes, for wherever you live.
It doesn't make sense in Raleigh, right? Like a $400,000 home, and you're making maybe $100 cash flow per month. That's an incredible lot of risk. So people are flooding more to the subsidiary markets from Raleigh. So you're having an increase in 22% more investors, and then you have an increase in taxes in utilities. So rentals in 2025, you need to be super, super creative. And what I mean with that is buy a flip that you either can knock off the roof, put an addition onto it, or do a value add or a BRRRR, or do an ADU in the back. And to be honest with you, Jen, the reason I'm doing building is, so I talked to you about these 3 projects in downtown Raleigh. If I finish 2, or if I finish all 3, but I sell 2, I own the 3rd one free and clear.
Wow.
So I'm selling that and make the profit, but I could choose to turn that into a rental and say, listen, the value of that property will be $900,000. Instead of taking the $900,000 and sell it and take the profit, I can say, you know what, I'll take a mortgage for, if the rent is $4,000 or $4,500 on that property, I'll take a mortgage for $4,000. If I take that mortgage, I'll put the money in my pocket. I still own the property. I get rental income, and I don't pay income taxes on the $400,000 that I get because I just did a refi.
Right.
Plus, if I hold that rental for 5 years, I know I won't hardly have any CapEx expenses because the roof is new, the plumbing is new, the electricity is new. And in all these areas where we're flooding to, right, the Nash counties, the Wilsons, the Burlingtons, most of the properties I was picking up are in the lower areas, older properties. So my CapEx expenses all of a sudden were like incredibly high. I woke up on Monday morning and I had over $20,000 in bills, plumbing. Yeah. And that's when I was like, I need to change my strategy. So in 2025, if you want to build a rental, if you want to buy rentals, you got to be creative. It's harder to find the 1% rule. You got to be creative and consider building, and then put one in your rental portfolio, or like I said, value add or ADU.
Super smart. Do you do any short-term rentals?
I do at the beach. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm actively looking there. Really?
Yeah.
We're gonna have to talk about that too, because I just was looking at a condo in Topsail. So all of this has been fantastic. Do you have any, I know your advice now is to buy now, but in 2025, what should people put their focus on for our real estate investors that are just starting out? What is the best thing for them to focus on for 2025?
So what I did wrong when I got started in 2016, I wanted to be a master of all zip codes in the area, but I became a master of nothing, right? I wanted to buy Fayetteville, Clayton. I wanted to buy Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte. And I signed up for every single wholesaler, MLS, notification, but I never got a deal. The second year, I figured out I need to change something because I only had 5 properties after the first year. So the second year, what I changed is I wanted to become a master in one zip code. So if you talk to me about 27701, which is Durham, 27702, 27703, my back pocket, my neighborhood, right? Like I don't live there, I live here, and I live south of Raleigh, but I became a master in those zip codes. So as soon as I knew what a flipped up property would sell for on average, the average square foot price. Back in the day, that was $180 to $200 per square foot. Now it's trending over $250. So if a wholesaler would send me a property, and I did the quick math, and it was around $120 or $150 per square feet, I'm like, oh, this is worth my time. I need to be looking at this one, right? And anything close to the 180 or the 200, I could disregard because I knew that was not a deal. So if you want to get started, know a zip code. Just know a zip code in wherever if you're listening to this in Timbuktu or the Netherlands, where I'm from, just know a zip code. Oh, I know this podcast will go over the entire world, but know your zip code, and in that zip code, be creative. Know the zoning codes. You can look up zoning codes on your county website. Know the zoning codes. Know, hey, this house is for sale, but if I split off the land in the back, I can do something else. Or the way I picked up another property in Raleigh. So I have three lots on the contract right now where I will be building a minimum of 5 houses. The reason I say minimum, the third lot, we're looking with the city if we can build 6 houses instead of 4. But the reason I picked up a small lot in downtown Raleigh that is going to make me $600,000 profit is because I knew the lot had a width of 50 feet, so I can put a duplex on there. Right? Nobody else that looked at the property knew that, otherwise they would have made an offer. And that's why I picked up that property. So if you want to be successful in 2025, again, it's becoming harder and harder to invest in real estate. So do a little bit more due diligence and start with a flip or do a wholesale. And then that flip can turn into a rental. But I would start with a flip, so you have some money in your pocket, and you're not so desperate anymore to get money into your pocket. If you're like me, struggling for money when I got started in 2016, right, on food stamps. So yeah.
Well, so you got my nugget from lien waivers. I love being very niche into one specific area, and in addition to that. And you mentioned knowing the zoning laws. It changes from Raleigh to Durham to, it'll be the same letters and mean totally different things. So I love that fact. But even in addition to that is your contractors don't have to travel very far. They're going a couple streets over and they're in that same area. So Erik, what excellent advice. And I think 2025 is going to be a great year for our listeners if you do it right and protect yourself. So this has been fantastic. Before we go to the second part of the podcast here, though, I know you are a big believer in using OPM, which is other people's money. So for the listeners who may be newer getting into real estate, what advice do you have for them for the best way to raise private money?
And great question. And before I dive into that, the other thing that I forgot to mention in if you want to do something in 2024, think about partnering up, because on one project. In 2025, partner with somebody. I'm giving up 50% of the profit. I'm the money guy, so I provide through my network the money. He does the build. He knows all the codes. So think about that as well. OPM. So in any deal, definitely real estate, you have 3 things: time, money, or the deal. When I got started on food stamps, I had time, although I worked at W2, but I could find time, and I could find a deal, but definitely not money. So what I focused on throughout networking is I focused on money guys. I made sure that any room I went to, any network I went to, they had my business card and I had theirs. And then I would follow up the next morning. Thank you for your time. Would you go for a cup of coffee with me? That's all I could afford. No lunch, definitely no dinner, right? Like $50 is not bringing you far. So I did a lot of coffees. And when you do that, make sure that you know your road is clear. I met with a few beginners this past month, And I asked them, I said, listen, I'm doing this for 8 years, but I'm not even sure what your goal is. Know your goal. When I was at REIA, they had a beginners meeting, and they said they asked every single beginner, what is your goal for 2017? It was then. And everybody said, I'll maybe do one deal. I'll maybe do 2 deals. I'm trying to do 5 deals. Nothing was convincing. Me and my partner at that point said, we will be doing 50 deals by the end of next year.
Wow.
When that meeting was over, people were lining up around our table and throwing business cards over people's head because they wanted to be, that was a true story. They wanted to be in contact with us. I had no idea what happened, but what I didn't figure out then, what I know now is when you are certain that this is going to happen, that this is what you're going to be doing, people want to be on that bandwagon. People want to be with you. And then when you raise money, when you talk about money, when you talk about the deal, you talk about it in their, what is in it for them, not for you. What are they making, not what you make. When I see presentations right now and people raise money, I have to go through 2 pages of about me. What is it about Erik? And I'm like, no, I want to know about the deal. What if I invest money, if I put my money down, what is the security and what is my profit? And if I want to know something about you, I'll ask you, right? If my 72 hardcore lenders, and I've done over 30 million in OPM, other people's money. If my lenders want to know something about me, email me, call me, and I'll tell you all about it. But the emails I'm sending is just, hey, here's the deal. Here's the purchase price. Here's the after repair value. This is what I need to fix it up. Here's the CMA report. Here's the percentage I'm making. This is the closing date. And this is your return based on what I just told you. You want to know more? Give me a call. And that's how I raised in 3 days $865,000 for my new builds. It's just, this is it. This is what I'm doing. And if you want to know more, let me know.
I love that. And I want to add one more nugget to it because I was on a coaching session recently and one of the students was saying, oh, there's this meetup coming up, but I don't want to learn about mobile homes. And I'm like, it has nothing to do about mobile homes. It's the people in the room. So
thank you.
Do not look at something and go, oh, I don't have any interest in that. It's really about who is sitting next to you to develop those relationships. And I want to also do a quick shout out. You are on the board for one of our local REIAs. And for the listeners out there, there are REIAs all over the country, and it stands for Real Estate Investment Association or Investor Association. And you kind of have to follow some guidelines. You'll have a calendar of events and things like that. There's typically a annual membership between $250, $300, maybe $400, and they have monthly meetings, etc. So you are part of which REIA in our area? Give a little shout out for our local REIA.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm part of the board of TRIA, the Triangle Real Estate Investment Association. I'm on the board. The reason I wanted to be on the board is if it wasn't for TRIA and the members there, I wouldn't be, I might as well still be on food stamps, right? Like there were people there that believed in me, didn't check my credit and based everything on the numbers that I provided. Like right. I needed $50,000. The value was $75,000 or $80,000 at the time. And I said, listen, I'll give you 8% annually and I share my profit with you. Just get started. Just don't be so greedy, and I call, and bear with me when I say this, and I say, don't be a cocaine snorter, meaning don't try to take the financial hit now and try to make a quick money and screw everybody else over. No, work on the future. If you're only making $100 or $50 or maybe $1,000 or you break even on your first deal, consider that to be a blessing because now you have experience, right? Like if I had the money that is coming to me right now in the beginning, I sometimes I'll be like, where are you? Where were you guys in 2016 when I really needed you? Like now, because I'm doing deals, this money just comes at you. So do deals and worry about making a home run like Jen is now doing with her new build, worry about that when you have the same experience as Jen has, right? Like focus on getting started into the real estate, your network, like Jen said, like if it wasn't for Tria and the members there, I wouldn't have the network I have now. Everybody, all that $1 million came from Tria. And
Awesome.
we have a membership that is at $20 a month if you just want to get your feet wet. But
Oh,
thanks for the time that I could say. But yeah, Tria or any local meetup for that reason can change your
absolutely.
life.
And, because I was part of a national coaching program with Tarek El Moussa. I was one of the coaches for his program. And so many of the students were just used to the online and sitting at home behind your computer. And it's really getting out there, meeting your local tribe of people who is really going to propel your business so much quicker. So I strongly recommend getting out there in your own neck of the woods and getting to know people around you. And yes, all of my money has also come from local meetups, etc., or connections to someone across the country through someone through my local network. So Erik, this is fantastic. We are going to move to the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes Erik Timmermans a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. And I think you already mentioned it, but what is a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
Yeah, I wish that pour that, of course, every real
The
estate
Purple
investor.
Bible, yes.
Yeah. But the other one that I put on there is a book by Jocko Willink, and it's Extreme Ownership. I really like that book because he explains the situation from when he was at war, and then how you implemented it at your house and at your business. You can consider it a little bit extreme because he goes as far as to say that if you get into a car accident, no matter if your light was green and the other person's light was red, that is your fault, right? But it really put it in perspective that the situation you're in right now, there's nobody else to blame as you, right? Like the difficult situation that I was in 2024 was only to blame on myself.
Right. Excellent. Is Jocko the one who, that big burly guy, and he's got a scruffy voice? Is that the okay?
Yeah. And
I've watched his videos.
Yeah, so I don't read, because if I read, I fall asleep and then the book falls on my face. So I listen to audio. So I like to do that when I'm mowing the yard or when I'm driving. I hardly listen to any radio, but to listen his voice on Audible is I kept mowing the yard until the book was done. The grass was already mowed 3 times. I could not stop listening. So,
I love it. All right.
so
The first A in badass is for advice. You've given us excellent advice for next year. And I want to know, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
So I hired a business coach this year, and a coach that works with my mind, with my brain, and just changes everything. Because again, 2024 for me, I felt I was like I just had so much self pity, and oh my gosh, this is such a hard year. Look at me, blah blah blah. And what he said really changed my mind, and was like, Erik, there's people that think 2024 is the the best year ever, and they're making and killing. They're making money hands over fist. And how can you do that? And I was like, what? There's people doing that? Like I was just in the wrong circle. So again, that goes back to the book, like extreme ownership. Like when you're in a bad situation, how can you change that, and what can you do to be on the other side of that coin? So,
Do you want to give him a shout out? Who's your
Oh,
coach?
there's Jason Dries, coaching. And I can put a link in there or whatever. But it's all about mindset. It's so powerful. It's so incredible powerful. I would have never gone into building again, or I would have never changed my business the way I did if it wasn't for changing my mind. Because again, I was so self-pity. Even my brother-in-law said yesterday to me, he goes, you look so depressed in your videos in the beginning of the year, and you look so different now. So the change, not only the change in my mind, is now reflecting how I look to people. It gives me more self-confidence. And because I have self-confidence, money comes running back at me again.
And I think it's so important to know that you need a coach and to make those change and to invest in yourself. A lot of people think, oh, I'll just listen to podcasts, I'll just read books. No, you really do need to invest in yourself, and doing the best way to do that is with a coach. So I love that you did that. All right. The second No, I'm sorry. The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
Of course, as most people will say, I guess my family, and to never be on food stamps again, right? Like,
Mm.
if you ever had to hold a book that had stamps in there, and stay in the line in Walmart with your grocery cart with milk that's expired, bread that
Mm.
is moldy, because as on food stamps you don't get quality, right? But if you ever had to stay in line there and look back to the people that are behind you, say, "My apologies, this is going to take a while. You better find another line." You know that you never want to be in that position again. And that's my drive, that's my motivation. And I'm saying this is because I don't want people to say, so poor for Erik. No, we all go through adversity in life. We all have our own challenges in life, and we can either identify by that or say, how can I change that? And um let that be your motivation, let that be your spark, like, let that be your drive to never ever want to be back in that position again.
Huge. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing all that.
Thank
That
you.
is tough. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
Before I go there, let me tell you about my goal setting as well. So I have my annual goals. I
Yep.
break that down into half year goals, monthly goals, weekly goals, daily goals, and then I
Woo.
have a, daily goals. So I go right now. If you look at my daily goal, I have a podcast recording from 10:45 until 12 o'clock, and then I do lunch for 30 minutes, and then I be from 1 to 2. I'll be on a call. So anyway, so it is all breaking down to make sure that I hit my goals. My goal is I said in May at a local meetup event, I said, I am a builder. Bear in mind, I was not a builder yet. I am a builder and I'm looking for land. Now I'm building. So my goal is to build 11 houses downtown Raleigh and to hit $5 million in revenue. Again,
Woo.
coming from a year where I hardly made any money to go into 5 million. I am, because I'm goal oriented right now. If the projects I have now that will finish in 2025, I'm at 1.3. So we need to double up a little bit.
I love it. All right. The first S in badass is for systems. What systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
So for all my businesses, I use Monday.com. It's an Excel sheets on steroids. It is basically an online tool,
I don't
but I
know
use
this
it
one.
for yeah. So I upload my invoices in there. My project manager uploads invoices in there. I have a project manager that does all of that. I have a link in there to the pictures, so I can see anytime what's going on. He can put a note in there and just say at Erik, and it will come into my email, so I don't have to be in the CRM system. But we use Monday.com and just track. We do meeting notes in there. We do lender data is in there. So Monday.com is if I need text information, I go there and say, what have I uploaded? Beside that, we use Google Photo, Google Drive. So those are the main systems we use.
Well, Vance is, the brains behind things, and he is we call him the freak in the sheets, as in spreadsheets. So he'll, he'll have to learn about Monday.com.
Oh,
All
he will
right.
love Monday.com.
All right, good to know. All right, this has been such a great podcast. So to wrap this up, the final S in badass is success. What does success mean to Erik Timmermans?
So I'm a workaholic, and what my coach is working on with me right now is to take Friday off. Yeah,
What does
yeah,
that mean?
yeah. I love working on, like, we just came, and we did a few days ago, we had the Thanksgiving break, and I love it because nobody's answering me on Thanksgiving, and nobody's answering me on the day after Thanksgiving and the weekend after that. So I work, poor family. So my goal in 2025 is to only work 4 days a week, and to spend more time with the family. So double the revenue that we need to do, but instead of working 60 hours, go down to 40 hours or maybe 30 hours. Sounds
That
scary.
That sounds very scary, but definitely successful. So, Erik, this has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and I can't wait to hang out with you because I got to talk finishes and see what you're going to be getting into. But before we sign off here, if the listeners out there have any questions for you, they want to talk about things, what's the best way for them to find you?
Best way for me to find me is, of course, you already said it, is on Facebook. The best way to get in touch with me is just write me a private message and go into Messenger, not below a post, but go into Messenger and just DM me is, I guess is the word. Instagram is the same thing. Just go to Instagram, Erik Timmermans, DM me, and I will always reply to people that are personally replying to me. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube as well. YouTube, I do all the recordings that I do on my speaking. I do free Q&As, and I'll record everything on there, so you can see there all the content as well.
And that is true, because that's how I got a hold of you to be on this podcast. I sent you a DM, so you do answer them. So Erik, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
I have to thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for your free advice that you're giving for newbies. Your energy radiates through Facebook, through everything you're doing. And I can't wait to catch up with you again and go for coffee. And what I want to do is just go to your project and really see what you're doing and learn from you.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah, that's the goal. Absolutely.
Well, Erik, thank you so much. And that is all. Thank you for listening. We will catch you on the next episode. Now, go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to REIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josey by visiting therealjenjosey.com or become a member of REIN by registering on REINmastermind.com.